Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico, Rev, and Ben, yep, they're at it again. Breaking down the team, putting stats up in your head. Nothing left unsaid, they're leaving it all on the field. Just like the favorite team, raising 2 cups and will shield. The knowledge is real for a trio so true to representing the gray, red, white, and blue. And you love them too, that you can't deny. So just one time, let me hear Dallas till I die. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Soccer podcast? Huh.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big D After Dark. So glad you're joining us this evening to talk the latest news and notes from FC Dallas, especially a miserable week. 1 point from 3 games. We have a lot to commiserate about. Tonight, Ben and Jose are here and we will take your questions and comments live. Let's get right to it. It's Big D After Dark. And there we are. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Big D After Dark. I am your host, Nathan Hill. You can follow me on Twitter at Nathan J. Hill. Thanks for joining our little podcast. Of course, we do this live every Monday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. And we have a good time talking about FC Dallas, and we sometimes get a little salty, and that's just how things are. Right there, of course, also with us in the middle there is our buddy Ben Lyon, still unable to get his camera operating, but it's coming soon. Eventually, it's coming soon because of contractual obligations.
It's not so much I can't get it working. I'm on a different machine.
Okay. Good. And you can follow him at Bird Turgler on Twitter. And there at the end is our buddy Jose at El Chico Carmona. Say hello. Good. All right, you did that. Good. Yeah, we're grateful. You, of course, can follow us and find us. Our podcast, the audio version of this, available on a lot of services. And hope you can listen even if you can't catch us live. But we're grateful. We're grateful that you're taking time out this evening to be with us. Hit us with your comments and questions. We will throw them in. They will direct and shape the conversation tonight, because we certainly have a lot to get to. And let's start off with the big news, which is, hey, a couple weeks ago we talked about a good week for FC Dallas when FC Dallas had 10 points from 4 matches. This week it's the opposite again. A bad week for FCD. 1 point from 3 games. They got crushed at home by Sporting Kansas City, beaten at home soundly by the Seattle Sounders, pun, and then go to Houston, have a fight back, go down 1 goal, fight back to take the lead 2-1, and then give up the equalizer. A disappointing result, even if a point in an away match has been a kind of a rare thing for FC Dallas of late. So we're going to hear from Coach Lucci in just a moment about it. But let's just give us, Ben, Jose, we'll start with this. Just give us your thoughts from the past 3 games for FC Dallas. Ben, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, first we have to start with the fact that FC Dallas is unbeaten in 3 on the road, and their last 3 on the road. So
take that.
Things are looking up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you take that by itself, that's great. That's like a hugely positive development. Unfortunately, you have to blend in the fact that they lost for the first time at home in over a year, and then followed it up with another loss. In 2 games that honestly, with the ball bouncing a little bit better, they probably at least draw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the contrast between the 4 games and the 9 points and the 3 games and the 1 point is that LCD played well for long stretches and had nothing to show for it. I mean, they really were unable to finish, and I don't know if you want to call it unlucky or just something that's haunting them. But in the 4-game stretch, you could argue they played badly and managed to get points. But in this current 3-game stretch, I thought they played well for many stretches and still found a way to drop the points. I'm not saying that they played well every half, but they played well enough, better than the other teams for long enough stretches, that the scoreline is just unkind.
Yeah.
They like Ben said. I mean, I remember the Sporting Kansas City game. I still thought they could pull it off when they were down 1-0, but then once they went down 2-0, you just saw their heads drop. That's the first time I recall them where you could visibly see them just sort of say, the wind get taken out of their cells.
Mm-hmm.
And then against Seattle, I didn't see that. They played like they still thought they could get that point, still maybe get the 3, but they just couldn't. And yes, it hurts, but let's face it, you lost against 2 of the best teams in the West right now. It's not like they lost to, a bottom-feeding teams, but it's just so hard to accept a loss at home. I'm still good with this team. I'm getting a little upset at all the people that are pessimistic, and we're only 4 points out of the playoff spot, despite the results.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the positives. Love that Pepe got his 9th goal of the season. That's a good number. And
to the All-Star break.
Yeah, heading into the All-Star break, and hopefully he doesn't get overtaxed, in the All-Star game or anything, and is hungry for more and gets a few more. I think his stock will continue to rise. I was certain Shun was going to really break out in one of these games, and he had some really good performances. Was unlikely to maybe not get his first MLS goal off the post. But we haven't quite seen it all come together for him at times. But it's getting there, and he's had some great matches. But we just keep thinking he's going to break out. My big question mark, I think, that is one of, and more so even than in the defense, and we have seen Tuamasi really, we've seen him decline a bit. He had a great first game when he was in there, but I think it was almost like he was hyped up, ready to go. And in these subsequent games, teams have game planned around him and just limited him.
I've never been sold on Tuamasi. I know everyone's talking about how good he is and how much, but I don't see it. I haven't seen it. I think he's got it down. He's got a good balance of coming forward at the right time and coming back on defense. But I just remember him getting beat time after time in pretty much all his starts. And the only reason he hasn't gotten burned is because Nkosi has been there to bail him out. I mean, Tafari is on the same side and has been having a monster year. And that's what's kept Tuamasi from getting torched. But now you're not seeing that. And now people are saying, well, Tomas, they're coming back down to earth. I'm not saying they're...
Yeah. What I think he has. I mean, his first game, he wasn't perfect, but he was energetic, and his athleticism bailed him out a lot. But then subsequent games, it seems like teams have just been like, they've outskilled him, and his skill is just not there yet as a defender by any means.
But I also want to add that you have to look at who he's been paired up with on that side. And, with Paxton getting dinged up, he's not really getting a lot of help on that side. So I think it's easier for other teams to target him when they don't have to worry about Paxton Pomykal on that side of the field. So that's probably I think that's what's exposed him a little, is how much of it was it him playing really well, or how much was it the guy in front of him playing so well that you just couldn't key on Tuamasi. I think that's got to be taken into account also.
Has he given some minutes there that have been vital? But we've definitely seen him exposed, and it hasn't helped the team. Of course, giving up a
bring
penalty.
Back Justin Che. Make Justin Che. I don't have a problem with Justin Che starting. I give a rat's ass that he's a center back playing at right back. He's played right back. He's played right wing back in Bayern. He's done it at North Texas, and he's doing it at FCD because he can do it. He's athletic enough. He's fast enough. I think he gives you everything that Tuamasi gives you, but just more athletic and faster. And he seems to improve. So I hope Che's given another shot at being the starter, because I think he's the guy. I don't mind them rotating, mind you. I think Tuamasi brings a lot to the table, but I think if we swap them up, it gives other teams keeps them from game planning against one or the other, because they each bring different tools to the game.
Well, where I was getting, Ben, go ahead.
Justin Che wouldn't have. He would have started all those games if he hadn't gotten hurt. I mean, he's just been the opposite trajectory of Tuamasi. Instead of where you see, Tuamasi came out at the Sporting Kansas City game and played okay. Great for a road performance, but you've seen his performance drop off. Whereas, Che, he started out kind of green, and he just got consistently better. Capping it off with an assist in the 4-0 LA route. It's fair to ask, if he'd been healthy the last 3 games, would FC Dallas have an extra point, or 6 maybe even.
Well, and where I was getting to too, I feel like my diagnosis of this team, I think we have enough quality in the defense to not give up as many goals. And for me, it still comes down to the midfield, getting that right combination in the midfield. And I know there's just, we've had to deal with international call-ups and injuries and all kinds of things, but some of it, and sales. I mean, Tessman is not around. Something about it though is getting the right pieces. I have finally swung to the fence where I think Brian Acosta he's not a useless player. He's been a soldier for this team. He's battled a lot, and he's had moments where he's been good, but he just doesn't bring the right mix. And I'm not sure at this point if he's gonna become that. I don't think he is. I think we missed Quinon against Houston, but we have Cerrillo out there, and Cerrillo offers some things, but it's just this team needs quality there that can really help this defense, who make better decisions and help out the defense in the long run. So that's kind of my thought, and the attack, I should say.
I'm glad you brought up Cerrillo, because I think that Cerrillo hasn't looked very well in that 3-game stretch, and that I think, I don't know, I think it's hurting the team. His performances have, considering how important his role is. I haven't seen anything from him that tells me that he can handle being a regular starter. I mean, I forget which game it was. We were by halftime. We're like, you need to get him off. Because he's struggling back there. And I don't know. Maybe he's one of these players that needs confidence, like Coleman, And it just seems that when Cerrillo is playing, his confidence up, he plays like you expect him to play. But when his confidence is down, he just looks like a completely different player. Like he should be out there. So I'm starting to think that Cerrillo is a Coleman type player where, it's how's he feeling? How's his confidence? Because honestly, I think his confidence has been down the past couple of games. I'm not saying he was horrible, but I'm just saying he wasn't an asset out there. And like you said, when Kenyon wasn't out there, you could just tell there was a big hole there. And mind you, I like Cirio. I'm just saying.
I do too. Yeah, I mean,
I think in this last 3-game stretch, Cirio, Tuamasi, and the Obrian Vargas combo have really let this team down.
There's a lot that has let this team down. Yeah, and we have a young attack right now, and I think it's fans can grouse about that and be upset about that, but like we're watching these guys grow, and it's not like the veterans have done anything. It's not like you bring on Obrian and you know Obrian brings something, but it's not like he's been a clutch answer for this team, right?
But is Obrian really a veteran? I mean, he's like college age.
All right, good point.
But
Obrian's 26.
25, 26. And, I mean, yeah.
Fifth-year senior.
Fifth-year senior.
Anyway, I was going to say your veterans are your back line, and they're all injured.
Right. It's hard. Well, all right. Well, let's get to let's go ahead and jump over to Lucci's some of his post-game comments after the Houston match, kind of how he talked about the roller coaster of that match, and then we'll get into our next question of conversation here.
Roller coaster ride. You know, certainly for the fans to have heart attacks, but for me, I have to be proud of the guys in their fight in the second half. We were not good enough for a good 20-25 minutes first half. I thought we were much better the last 15 minutes of the first half. We knew Houston was gonna come with everything, and we talked about having more pressure on the ball and hurting them behind their lines, beating their last line, and we weren't doing that effectively. And then they scored. We conceded. So again, we come into half knowing that it wasn't good enough, and we needed to have a response. And I thought the boys certainly showed that from the beginning of the second half. Creating opportunities with pressing and putting away chances. So the 2-1 is hard to hold, and we knew that here, but we needed to hold it. You know, it's a weird feeling when at half you would take the tie, but then at some point you're winning, so you want to win the game, and we weren't able to hold the tie. And it was a tough situation with the subs. We were limited because we had to make a first half sub with Bressan, and then we had to make an early sub with Jose, our first sub, having to coming in and then coming back out, and Matt coming in. So I would have liked to maybe have the option to get one more sub in there, but it was just so fast, and we needed to be decisive, and we felt the guys on the wing had energy, and the guys in the midfield could see the game through. But look, everyone put I felt an honest effort, more so in the second half, more consistent, more clear in the game plan, and again a great response to get an important point in a place that's not easy to play, and that's a team we're both teams that are desperate for points. I think you saw both teams go for the game, even at 2-2. They could have scored. They've got a lot of volume in the box. We could have scored with Jesus' shot there at the end or on a set piece. So we're going to grab the positives and rest, and then we have next week to prepare for another derby, another Texas derby with Austin.
So, you hear Coach Lucci take the positives. Not that you don't have a lot of choice. The game ends 2-2 on the road, and you couldn't find that go-ahead goal, and you gave up the equalizer. But he identified this slow start, and I think I want us to get into that a little bit. What is with the slow starts for FC Dallas? It's a theme we've seen from this team, especially on the road, but sometimes even at home. Ben, what's with the slow starts?
I have no idea. I mean, honestly, maybe it has to do with them not pressing more aggressively early in the game. That might be something that they want to look at doing. Putting in more of a full court press to start out the game. Of course, that gets tricky whenever your midfielders are constantly being rotated out, and Pomicall gets hurt, and Shea gets hurt, and then in the Houston game you go through 4 center backs because they get hurt. But I think now that they have like Pepe has usurped Hara, they can actually do that. And they should probably take advantage of that more often. They scored a goal off of their press against Houston, like an easy one. And a nice easy goal to start the game. That's worked out well for them. That's a good strategy. Use that strategy, coach.
I think Lucci had a point there in that really his hands were tied as far as the substitutions, because he's forced to make a substitution for Brisson, and then he's forced to make another substitution for Jose, and then he's left with basically one substitution, down the stretch. When you're thinking, hey, this is when he should be bringing in his reserves, he really had no choice in that matter. He couldn't really, whatever the game plan was for late in the game, there was, it could not be implemented. And as far as the slow starts, it just seems so deliberate to me. It almost seems to me like that's how Lucci wants the team to come out. Like, hey, let's hold back. Let's let the Texas Heat beat on them for a half, and in the second half we'll pour it on. I don't agree with it, but I'm just saying it's happening so much that you have to start wondering if it's being done on purpose, and it just backfired because you allow that goal against a team like Sporting, a team like Seattle. Trust me, those guys know how to shut it down. And especially when you get a young attacking team that's very inconsistent with their shots and has trouble finishing, it just spells doom sometimes, So, and like I said, against Houston, just the injuries, just bad luck. I mean, if you would have told me before the game that we would have lost Brisson and Jose to injuries that match, I said, oh my God, we probably got trounced. I was just thankful that Tafari or Matt didn't go down, because I was like, what's going to happen if that goes down?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to bring Justin Shea in at center back? I mean, that would just be ridiculous to sub in that many center backs, And just like that, our depth at center back is gone.
Yeah. Well, our compatriot John Arnold, he asked Tafari about this and about the slow starts and what was going on with that. So let's listen to him real quick here.
It's something we've been talking about a lot in the locker room, or just it's outside. We oftentimes only kind of play one half, and we got to get better. Clearly, it's a 90-minute game. So if we're coming out slow, certainly on the road, it's not going to help us, definitely considering how we normally play on the road. So after the first 20, we were a bit slow and lethargic, even on the ball or without it. Maybe we were kind of feeling that another team wouldn't press or play in this heat, but this team is from this heat. So we were the ones that were moving slow. We weren't really checking our shoulders a lot. And then second half of the first half, we started getting into it, started getting some possession. It was irregular with how they were pressing initially with the man v man. It was different for us. But once we started going long, adjusting our numbers, then we were able to turn them on their back foot. And leaving with 1 point, it's not the best, but I like to be a realist about it. We don't normally get points on the road. So regardless, I think it was definitely a winnable game. But outside of that, it's decent that we at least got the one.
Yeah. I appreciate his perspective there. And maybe that piece about, hey, we're not expecting Houston to press us here. We're expecting them to sit back a little bit and then not being ready and not being dialed in to adjust when Houston comes at you. And I think Houston has seen that as much as Dallas has drilled that come out of the back, they're vulnerable at times. They're vulnerable because of the injuries. They're vulnerable because you got a guy like Twumasi who's not always going to make the best choice. I mean, so it's tough. And even Hollingshead, who's known to kind of, I think he had a giveaway or two in this game that was just like, oh, man, come on. And a midfield that's coming in and out. So I think Dallas is vulnerable at times in this press to be pressed. So I think teams are identifying that and going after them. It's a tough thing, but it's a mystery. It's a mystery. Is it about the mentality of this team, or as you mentioned, Jose? Is it about, was this what Lucci wants? Lucci wants the team to sort of get their feet under them and then move forward, but sometimes teams aren't going to give you that opportunity, right? Simple as that. Yeah. Well, let's get into some saltier stuff here, and grateful for everybody listening. Let's get into this. Let me get it back. FC Dallas' season bust. Let's grade a little bit of where we are with some of this team signings. It's also the word, and specifically getting this Houston match. Lucci brought in Vargas to give him a start, another rare start for him. He has really fallen off the face of the map. Had a great little bit of a game with North Texas SC where he was really just dominated there, but can't get on the field. And when he does, as we saw in the first 45 minutes against Houston, it's just not good. It's just not. He is definitely at least a project at best at this point. So let's just start with him. I mean, Vargas is young, but at this point, is he a bust? Is he a guy that you just, if he doesn't come back after the offseason, are you fine with that? Or do you think he's worth holding on to? Jose, what do you think?
Well, I don't think he's a bust. I think that realistically, if you had high expectations when he was first signed, that'd be a first. The expectations didn't arrive until he performed well in preseason, which ultimately doesn't mean anything. I don't think he's a bust. I think he is what he is. He's a project. He's always been a project. And he's one of the players that is definitely needs that full season under his belt. The problem for him is that Shun is looking so good on one side, and you got Elmadrid is looking good. There's plenty of young wing talent that you don't want to fall behind, because at some point you're gonna get buried so far in the bench that it won't even matter if you start playing well. So I do not think he's a bust. I'm gonna say it's a push. I didn't have the expectations that some people have placed on him, like I did for Obrian, who came in as a leading goal scorer in the Colombian league. Now that guy had some
we'll get to
credentials.
him. We'll get to him in a minute. But let's just.
Well, I'm just saying. Expectation wise, I did not have the expectations for Vargas that I did for Obrian, for example, another wing guy. So for me, it's a push. It's a clear. He's got issues, shape, stuff going on outside the club, and I think a good year with the team will hopefully give him a shot to show what he's got next season.
Ben, what about you?
I mean, he's a total bust to me at this point, because he looks so good in preseason, and it's just totally crapped the bed playing for the first team. I mean, really, like, the only time I've seen him be kind of good this year was, like the first game of the season and like the Seattle game. And really, like, there's enough talent there where, he can turn it around by the end of the year, which, I mean, he has to. Otherwise, his loan is not going to get extended.
That's
I mean,
true.
I can still see him pushing through for the last third of the season, and turning a corner. But as of right now, yeah, he's a total bust to me.
And I want to add to that. My concern was, as you saw against Houston, is he was playing way too centrally. It gave me those Mosquera vibes. Where Mosquera would wind up, as a attacking midfielder instead of on the wing, and he was completely Vargas was getting completely in Jesus' way. And you saw Chuy had a horrible first half because it was too crowded where he was supposed to be operating. So I mean, to me that was the biggest concern with Vargas is where he was playing. was he asked to do that? Because he was way too centrally. Every time you'd see him get the ball, and he'd be in the deep middle. And you're like, what is that guy doing there? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. He's and thanks Hoach or Hotch for joining us, and and appreciate your comment there. That is he out of shape? Is he out of shape? Is he not in form, or is it just he's out of his depth? And I wish we'd see more time with him with North Texas to get him going, but I don't know. We just don't know. We don't know. Maybe his loan doesn't preclude that. But let's not. So I think he's a bust too at this point. I don't know that the team is going to buy, but he is a project, and so you never know. And maybe he just needs one thing to get going. Let's keep going on the list. What about Shun at this point? How are we feeling about Shun? Jose?
I love Shun. I mean, yes, he's had his ups and downs, but I think when you see him on the ball and see some of the things that he does, he looks very comfortable with the ball on his feet. He looks very comfortable going at people. I think a little snake bit from time to time, but you see where he's rather frail looking and can be pushed around, and that's just a little growing up. I mean, a little year with Dallas, a little in the conditioning room, and maybe he makes that leap next year. But I like what I see from him. I'm okay with his occasional downs and struggles, because you see his potential there, and you see where with a little more polish, a little more playing time, a little more time in the gym, where this kid could definitely elevate to another level.
Ben, what about you?
Oh yeah, I'm excited to see him do more. With Paxton out, he's got to start every game, and he's got to play through it, play through the growing pains, and unlike his other wing counterparts, at least you're getting some production to go with his growing pains.
He's definitely learning that MLS is a physical league and having to adjust. But yeah, he's able to do the exciting things like Paxton is that we need. All right, there's no order to this. I just sort of jotted them down. How about Quinón? A little bit of an unexpected signing with Thiago Santos leaving, also an unexpected departure. How are we feeling about him, Jose?
I like Kenyon. I like what he brings to the table. I think when he's out there, you can tell that veteran presence that he brings, a lot of calm to the team. He helps the team control the center, and I think he gambles a little too much for me defensively at times. I don't know. He seems to good. He seems to time it well, but I like that he's brought what he's brought. I think he's definitely our best six out there, and I think he'll only get better. I mean, I think you're starting to see his veteran savvy come through, and when he's not out there, you can tell he's not out there. You really miss him. I think that's a sign of a good signing.
Ben, what about you?
He's had to get used to playing with Cerrillo, who's just reemerged, and playing with Brian Acosta's wild ass, who, God, I'm so over Brian Acosta. I mean, they really gotta narrow down what he does for the team to get value out of him. I've been happy with Kenyon. I want him starting pretty much every game going forward, which I know is not possible at the moment. So that's sad.
I'm right there with you. I like him too. I think he's started maybe a little rough, but man, he was thrown right in there but he's good. He helps this team. All right, now let's get to a little more controversial here. Maybe Obrian. I mean, at this point, what are we feeling? He was, and keep in mind, he was. I looked up his transfer fee, $700K, not outrageous. MLS tier, kind of good. But
I think he's a bust. I mean, yes, he's fast, and then he brings that to the team, and the team needs his speed, especially late. But at this point, he looks more like a guy you bring off the bench to run at teams when their legs are tired, and hope he gets lucky. I mean, it's right now he's just not. He's too small for the league. He's getting bumped off the ball easily. There's just so many holes to his game. You know, he's got the one dimension that'll keep him getting playing time for the rest of the season. But at this point, he's on the bench with Hara, next to Hara, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
right.
Super subs at best.
All right, Ben.
I mean, with him, I didn't know what to have as far as expectations going into this year. So, I basically went off preseason and I was like, well, this guy is fast, but I'd like to see more. Other than that, I mean, he's second leading goal scorer on the team. And I mean, like, I would say right now he's a bust, but not by much, honestly, like, if everything is equal and Paxton is back healthy and he becomes, a 20 to 30 minute a game sub, I don't think that it's ridiculous to pay what the club did to bring him in to fill that role, especially with the speed, because his speed is legitimately impressive. I mean, like, he is not like a Frank O'Hara level bust by any stretch of the imagination.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I also want to add before I'm not throwing in the towel on him, because you guys got to remember that Barrios also struggled for the first half of the season and looked like a bust until after the U.S. Open Cup, and then after that he took off in the second, part of the season, and O'Brien could still do that. O'Brien could still, redeem himself, and he's a bust right now, but I'm keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah. I'm in the bust fence too. I mean, I think, could he have a role, but as that sub kind of thing? Yeah, sure. And maybe some of this is confidence too for a lot of these guys, just to get more things going so they could be more consistent. But and our buddy Hawk there says, I think O'Brien would be better in a counter-attacking striker role when we are looking to secure points and park the bus. Sure, and I just think, looking back, $700K. I mean, if it was a little bit cheaper of a buy, maybe you're fine with that. But
$700K is nothing.
Sure, for FC Dallas though. Anyway, all right. Well, we got to keep this going.
I think before you move on, you got to say that Barrios simply looks. I mean, O'Brien just looks like he's wrong for what the team's trying to do. I mean, like you said, like Haunch said, if you're going to bunker and counter, then he's perfect. But for the type of possession style, hold-up play that Lucci wants from his players, that capability to take players one-on-one, you see what Shun and Paxton can do on the wings. O'Brien can't give you that, and he's basically, right now, he's looking like Pablo, just a player that is good, but it's in a system that's completely wrong to take advantage of his skills. And I think that was a good thing to point out.
Well, all right, this next one should be short and sweet, right? Frank O'Hara. Okay.
Ben can have this, and I'll just agree with everything he says. Go on, Ben.
Worst designated player signing in club history. By far.
Bold words.
Yeah, I mean, quite candidly, if he hadn't started any games this year, then FC Dallas would be in a playoff spot right now. No question in my mind. Absolutely none. And stats back it up.
I cannot disagree with that.
Yeah, I think the stats, they back it up. And I mean, he wasn't available in this Houston game, and
Come on, Disco, suspend him for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But hey, probably He's probably in the short list of players that we call up to the MLS All-Star game.
Yeah, get those eyes. All right. Anyway, all right. Let's shift now. Now, the next three are a little more interesting. And the first one here, it feels tough to grade him with all that he's faced, but Jose Martinez. What are we feeling about him at this point? Marred by a lot of injuries, so it's been tough. But with Tafari's rise, I wonder about his role, going forward. So, what do you think?
Incomplete. For me, it's incomplete. I mean, he just can't stay healthy right now, and you don't know if that's a history that he's got, just bad luck. I mean, from when he's been on the field, he's looked rock solid, and everybody's like, oh, this is the guy that's gonna, cost Brazan his job. Well, that hasn't happened because he can't stay on the field long enough to unseat Brazan, and it's incomplete. I like to see the guy get healthy, but if that doesn't change, if at the end of the year we're still talking about all the games he missed, then at that point I would declare him a bust based on injuries. I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you can't stay on the field, what good are you to the team? It's the old Mosquera syndrome when he, when he got out there and got a slew of games and started playing well, he'd get injured, and then we'd be back to reset button and back to being out of form, out of shape. And that's what's gonna. It makes you susceptible to injuries. So you got to wonder if Hedges had been brought out off the bench first before Jose, he would have gone down with injury, because you can tell that both of those guys are not 100%.
Ben, what do you think?
I mean, I want to see him play more. I thought he was good in the Houston game. I mean, they clawed back with him in the game.
Yep.
And, he's a natural left-footed center back. I mean, if you want to play a heavy possession game, then, it makes sense to have somebody who's either exceptionally two-footed or, a left-footer playing that left center back role. And I mean, I've seen him play enough this year where I'm like, yeah, I mean, he looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't been super excited about him, but I haven't seen enough of him.
Yeah,
he does look like a really good distributor, though, which is exciting.
I agree. That's the one thing when he's been on the field. That's the one thing that has been intriguing, is his ability to make the accurate passes, long and short.
It's a tough one for me because it's not like he chooses to get injured. So I agree with you guys. I'd like to see more, but it's just tough. I don't know if this is gonna be a pattern, or if it's just a poor run of luck. So yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna be sticking around. It's nice to have, if they'd all get healthy, nice to have three veteran kind of center backs to have on the on the bench there, or at least in the mix. And our buddy Haunch there is speaking my mind too. I want to see him play more too. But who would have expected a draft pick would be kicking so much ass in MLS and taking a starting spot away from two big salary defenders? And Kosi is killing it, and I agree. It's been the story of the season, and it just.
And can you even see him not starting any matches going forward? I mean, I can't see it. I can't see him being unseated.
I know that's the thing, and so, can one of these defenders get moved over the offseason just to give you some cap space, some flexibility to go out there and look for something else? But I don't know. Or you go in with four guys who are going to compete every week for minutes. It's just a good conundrum. All right, let's keep going here. Next guy, RaQade. It's been over a year now with the team. We've seen some good moments, but he has struggled to get on the field, struggled to make a difference. And I have been a big homer for this guy. I just feel like he can also create great things. He can make a difference in the team, but I just don't know what's up either. When he gets on the field, he plays so deep, and it doesn't seem to help the team. And I just don't know. I just don't know what's up with this situation. And I think he's here on a loan too, if I'm not mistaken. Jose, what's your gut on RaQade?
Well, I've been one of his biggest fans since he came to Dallas, and at this point, it's disappointing. I mean, it's I hate to say it, but he has to be seen as a bust because you see all he's capable of, and then you're just not seeing that production. It makes me wonder if Lucci is not using him properly because, like you said, you see him go too deep, and instead of where you want him up high, as a dual 8 role or something like that, and and you were seeing that consistently. Well, you're seeing a lot of inconsistency from him. That's just it. It's usually he's a veteran player who shows he's got all the tools, and you get a lot of inconsistent play when he is out there, and it's just baffling. It's baffling, and you start to wonder: is he being told to come back deep? Is this what's being asked of him in the system? Is he being misused? I don't know. But until we get an answer to that, he has to be seen as a bust. I mean, who's he? He's not even a starter anymore. I mean, who's he going to start ahead of? He can't start ahead of Chewy. He can't start ahead of Kenyon. He can't start ahead of Acosta. Because for all the issues people have with Acosta plays better and more consistent than RaQade. And that's the hard truth.
Ben?
Man, I can't wait for Acosta to go away with the Honduran national team again. That's going to open up some minutes for him, and hopefully Kenyon and Suryo can offer enough bite to make up for some of his lack of bite. Because, man, he is so much better at picking out a pass than Acosta is. Acosta can deliver a nice long ball, but only when it's obvious. I mean, Acosta just isn't a very bright player, I don't think.
Don't you mean he could deliver a nice long ball over the post?
Hey, he had a shot on goal. Acosta had one shot on goal against Houston, at least one.
Yeah, but it was a full moon outside. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, Acosta just isn't a very smart player. But if he sees an obvious open player, he can hit him with a long pass. That's really impressive. It's just, any kind of traffic into the situation, and it just all falls apart for him so quickly. So, RaQade will get a chance here, not this weekend, but the week after that to, maybe remind everybody what he can do. Man, I tell you, when he's on, he's just so slick. He's great at dribbling out of traffic and, breaking up some of that, mid-block press where, you start having players open, and he can pick out those passes. He's composed enough to do that. The things that, Acosta would be worth the money if he could do that, but he can't.
Yeah, at this point, I think the clock is ticking on him, and I think the team will probably look at something else. But but he still has an opportunity, and we've seen some spectacular from him. So I hope. All right. Last and a little bit interesting is Elmadrid. He's a homegrown signing. I mean, we could talk about Che as a newcomer as well, although we sort of discussed him. Elmadrid is interesting. Got minutes against Houston, and you could tell he's adjusting to the level. He's been good with North Texas. So I'm excited to see more from him. I'm kind of growing on him. I hope he can grow in confidence and make a difference with this team. Jose, what do you think?
Well, I mean, expectations. There were none for him, and just the fact that he's getting minutes and he's showing well, I think he's good. He's basically a rookie. He's got minutes at North Texas, and like most players that get loaned down to North Texas, he's just too good for that level. He's dominated when he's been down there. And so here's a player that I kind of wish would have gotten loaned out to a European team or something, just, for a half season or something like that to get some playing time, or maybe to the USLC, but that's not happening. And with the inconsistent play from the guys ahead of him, you see why they didn't do it, because they're like, hey, we can get him playing times here. He won't be a starter, but he'll definitely get minutes off the bench, just because you've got two good wing players and then a lot of question marks after that. And by two good wing players, I'm talking about Shun and Paxton, So after that, it's a free for all to see who gets the other minutes, and he's got as good a shot as anybody else. Like I said, a rookie, you got to like where he's at for a rookie. So I think he's a good signing.
Good stuff. Ben?
I mean, 50K a TAM, and the rest of the wing options are a total mess. So, I hope he kills it over the next couple of months. He really finds another year. I mean, I think it's kind of unfortunate that he's gotten as many minutes as he's had so far this year. Not that he's gotten a lot. He's only got 69 minutes, but 50K for a supplemental roster spot. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and with the way this roster is right now, I mean, there's an opportunity in a lot of these matches coming up. They're going to be fighting for every point. I think there's an opportunity for a guy like that to carve out a little role, to make a difference, to make his name, to state a case that he has a role, next season. But it's so, yeah, why not? Why not? The kid from Delaware. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, of course, we invite everyone to check us out at bigdsoccer.com. A lot of good commentary. We'll enjoy All-Star Week. We wish Pepe the best. Wish him a good, and hopefully he's participating in the skills challenge too, I believe. So that should be fun to check out. But also, the team will be traveling to Austin to play at Austin. And a big match. Of course, FC Dallas needs points, but Austin is demolished Portland at home. Good for them. And looking better. Their new signing, their striker, our buddy Jason Poon said that the guy is looking really good. Early returns are looking really good. So we should expect a tough match. Austin's not going to go easily into the Knights, but FC Dallas needs points. So a lot to look forward to this week. We won't bother with predictions at this point. Let's just let's go into the unknown, and let's hope FC Dallas rests up and gets healthy and is ready. All right, Jose, Ben, you're great.
Hold on.
Okay.
Remind everybody, North Texas SC, they're on that 7-match unbeaten run. They're currently in the middle of a brutal 3-match road stretch against the top 2 teams in USL League One, and of course the Mingos, El Plastico. 2 of those matches down. They got a draw against Chattanooga. They got a draw at Madison, and now this Saturday they play against Union Omaha, currently the number 2 team. Who, if Union wins, they become the number 1 team in USL League One. Anyway, any points? If North Texas can get a point against Union Omaha, they'll be in the driver's seat for the 3 seed in the playoffs with 10 games to go, as they will have 5 home games, 5 road games, and 3 of those road games are against the 3 bottom teams in the league. So this 7-match run could become a steamroller, and you could see the North Texas that we saw at the end of last season and for most of the first season, where they got cranking, they got getting points, they got draws and wins down the stretch. You're seeing that happen right now. That team is clicking, and honestly, the game against Union Omaha is probably their last tough game remaining right now. If they can get a point out of this, great. If they get 3 points, then I would say look out. A 3-point win against Union Omaha at home, where they're almost unbeatable, then you need to start wondering if they can make a run to the number 1 or number 2 seed.
Okay.
But a draw is more likely, and a run for a number 3 seed is very possible right now.
Sounds good. A lot of good soccer to watch right now. Enjoy that ESPN Plus subscription. All right, watch some North Texas. Okay.
No El Medcar this weekend though. Or Gomesh. Gomesh may have to play
That's
with
right.
FC Dallas.
You guys are good. Salas got a couple of starts. This Gabriel kid, this number 9 they got from the same place they got Gomez from, has been a pure, hold up 9 out there, a target player. He's looked the part, he's played the part, and he's made a difference. I just think,
that guy can post up for sure.
yes, and you see him out there, and you're like, wow, this kid's got something,
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think they're just clicking as a team.
Yeah.
Forget the individual players. As a team, that team is clicking. They're on a roll, and they just simply look like a fun team to watch and shit.
It's fun. Well, let's leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great rest of your week. We will see you soon. All right. Go FC Dallas.
Go FC Dallas. Beat Austin.
All
Yeah.
right. Good
Beat
night.
Austin's hipster D-bags.
That's right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.